y'all, my name is Courtney and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be discussing some of the queer sport books that I've read. Actually, all the queer sports books that I've read. If you don't know, for this month of June I'm going to be exclusively reading queer sports stories. That is the kind of theme that I set for myself. Sports stories, but queer sports stories in general, are normally about coming of age stories, a character growing into themselves, conquering obstacles. You get a lot of really interesting character dynamics, from enemies to rivals to teammates. Teammates that don't get along, teammates that do. It's a lot of really interesting dynamics, and it makes a great background for just a coming of age story, and even sometimes a little bit of romance. So if you want to know what I'm reading this month, or some queer books that I found that I have not read, go check out my TBR video. But today I'm going to be talking about all the queer sports stories that I've read, so if you want some recommendations, stay tuned. So for a light sports story, I would recommend Heartstopper by Alice Oseman. Heartstopper is a YA coming-of-age graphic novel. You can read it for free on Webtoons or on Alice Oseman's website, I believe, but you can also buy the physical editions that have been coming out. You can also, of course, watch the show, which recently debuted on Netflix, and I highly recommend it. It's a really great show. I would say this is a light sports story because sports is not really the major focus of the story. Nick, who is the love interest, is a rugby player, and Charlie, our main character, takes on rugby, joins the rugby team for a little bit, and so there is some of that dynamic of being on a sports team. The comic deals a little bit more with it than the TV show does, but the TV show has a really great finale around a sports festival. This story is more of a coming-of-age friendship story with a little bit of romance and mental health stuff in there as well. And while the sport isn't like a big part of the series, I really do like its inclusion in it. I think it does do a good job of talking about some of the stuff surrounding sports and what it's like to be queer on a not so friendly queer sports team. So I highly recommend both the TV show and the comic. I'm looking to see how long it would take the clouds to move to give me the light back again. It's not looking good, so we're just gonna do it in shadow. It's dramatic. I guess we'll go to a dramatic recommendation then. So another queer sports story I've read is We Ride Upon Sticks. This is an adult speculative fiction novel, and it is surrounding field hockey. We Ride Upon Sticks is about a team that want to go to nationals, something. They want to go to one of those big events, and so they like literally sign their souls or their team or something to the devil, or they do some like type of witchcraft thing, and a bunch of weird witchy stuff starts happening around them because of them signing off on something so that they can win. There is a trans character as well as a couple sapphic characters. I would say the story is very queer, but it is not always dealing with queer stories in the same way some of these more YA contemporary stories deal with it, if that makes sense. But yeah, this is not one of my personal favorite reads, but I do think that there's a reader for this book out there, someone who likes weird books, definitely for fans of people that like Catherine House Bunny, those kind of weird, odd books that have that fantastical element to them, someone who likes unlikable characters. This uses a we perspective, so it's like the we of the team speaking, and you kind of follow all the different characters. It's a weird book. It didn't quite work for me in the way that I wanted, but I enjoyed it, and I know there's a lot of readers out there that would also enjoy this book. Another book I would love to recommend is Running with Lions. Running with Lions is a queer sports book about a young man who plays soccer. The setting starts out at a soccer summer camp, I believe, and we're kind of just set in the middle of this team and its dynamics. I don't believe the main character is out of the closet yet, and I want to say he's bi. There's a lot of queer characters on the team. Believe that there's some like homophobia as well. It's been a while since I read this book, so I'm like trying to dig it out of my brain. But I know the main plot point is that his like old rival friend is coming onto their high school team, and they kind of have beef with each other, but they also are kind of in love with each other. Running with Lions is another book that didn't quite work for me. It just didn't hit the story beats that I wanted the story to hit. So by the end, I just was left a little bit unsatisfied because it didn't feel like the main character kind of grew, and I didn't really get to see the relationship dynamics I wanted to see grow in a satisfying way. But this is a teen YA book, and I know there is the perfect teen reader out there who's going to love this story, so I still recommend it because I know someone out there is absolutely gonna love it. Next we have Bruised, which I read last year, I believe, for Pride. And Bruised is the story about a young girl who's dealing with the grief after the loss of her parents. She's taken up skateboarding as a way to inflict self-harm upon her. She likes wiping out basically on her skateboard. She likes pushing herself physically to kind of get that release. She feels a lot of guilt for what happened, but skateboarding is not really doing it for her anymore, so she decides to get into roller derby. This book, again, wasn't a perfect read for me. I gave it like 3.5 stars. There were some moments that were really powerful to me and I thought really worked, especially dealing with the guilt that the main character felt and just kind of her moment of like going too far and then getting help. I thought really worked. These characters are flawed, they make mistakes, so if you are in for a book about messy characters, I definitely recommend this one. I think it's a lot of fun and I definitely want to read more books about roller derby because it's just a very queer sport and I want more of it. The next queer sport story, I wouldn't recommend this, but I have to talk about it because I'm talking about all the queer sports books I've read, and that is the notorious Foxhole Court series. So this is a book series that I do not talk about on my channel. I do not recommend it because it's a lot. It's a self-published, I would say adult, queer sports story about a made-up sport that's kind of like a cross between tennis and lacrosse, and it happens like in this glass cube kind of situation. It's not the most well written. There's a lot of stereotyping and just like bad representation, messy stuff, just a lot of triggering content and a lot of stuff that probably wasn't handled well. And so I try not to recommend it because I know that a lot of people do not like this series, and I know that it's a series that I would not want anybody to randomly stumble into. But I will say, as much as I don't recommend this series, I do love it. I absolutely love it. I love the characters, I love the dynamics. It's pretty goofy at times. It does read a lot like fan fiction, but it just works for me and I really love these characters. Basically, it's a queer sports story mixed with mafia. I don't know. I don't know why my brain likes this. I've reread it multiple times and I still like it, so like I know the flaws of it, but I don't know, I still like it. What can I do? The first book for me, the ending, is what I really love because it has like a really great like playing the sport montage. The second and the third book do continue with the sport thing, like it's the main plot or center of the big plot besides the mafia stuff. The second two books do not have as great of a play-by-play moment as the first book does in my recollection. But overall, the Foxhole Court, be warned, look into stuff before you read it. But yeah, if you're looking for a sports story, it's gonna give you the sports stuff. Like it really gets you that. And if you're looking for those messy, complicated sport dynamics and people that really hate each other and really don't get along, but kind of do, you might like it. I don't want to recommend it though, because you might hate me for it. I know I kind of made my friend read it and he did not enjoy it. I'm sorry, it's a 5-star series for me. Ugh, you know, we all have our guilty pleasures. We all have the bad thing that we like, but this will probably be the last time I ever talk about it because I don't even talk about it when I reread it. So yeah, there's that. So we're gonna finish off this list with 2 sport graphic novel series. First, I'm going to be talking about CZECH Plays. This was originally a webcomic and got traditionally published a couple of years ago. I had heard about it as it was a webcomic and was really excited for when they released it physically, and I have since read it and loved it. If you read the traditionally published version, it is 2 different graphic novels and it takes place around hockey. It focuses on our main character Biddy, who is just starting college and joining the hockey team. He was previously a figure skater and he is currently a gay boy in the closet, trying to figure out life, trying to deal with college, trying to join this new sports and this new team. And it kind of frames the story around Biddy giving like these YouTube videos. Biddy is also like a really big baker, so that's what mainly his YouTube channel is about, but he does talk about all of his college life and stuff like that. And yeah, CZECH Plays is just perfect. It's got the sports, it's got the hard-hitting moments, it's got the cute romance. It's a joyful read, but it doesn't shy away from hard topics as well. It's a comic I would definitely recommend. It's got the whole package. And finishing up the list, we have the graphic novel series Fence. Fence, if you don't know, is a queer sports story. It's been on hiatus for like a year and a half, maybe even 2 years now. Kind of scary, but it is coming back, thank goodness. And currently it is only 4 volumes, like 4 trade paperback volumes, and it is all surrounding the art of fencing. This follows our main character who has wanted to fence beyond a fencing team his entire life, but has not been able to afford it and has been just fencing as best he can with the equipment he has, and is finally getting to go to a high school where he can be on a fencing team, hopefully, and have a fencing scholarship. From there, he meets teammates, rivalries, and the whole first 4 volumes is just him trying to get on the fencing team. Let me preface this is a slow building story. I hope we get the completed story arc someday, because I really love this story, but it follows all the typical beats that you would see in a sports anime. What I assume the story is going to do, what it has set up to do, is to have the main character slowly trying to get on the team, the dynamics trying to interplay between the different teammates. He has a roommate, they were roommates, yes, that whole thing. And their whole big story arc is going to be them competing against and defeating their rival team. The main character has some connection with, as well as his roommate. I wouldn't say it's a love triangle, but there's something going on between all those characters. I want the story so bad. I really hope it gets finished, because I really love Fence and I love the characters it has introduced. Again, it's setting up to be a very slow-paced novel series, but I think that's what makes it work so well. The art is fantastic, the characters are interesting, the dynamics are really interesting, and I want to see them slowly grow into this group together, to grow into a team. And again, it's setting up to have all the great dynamics of coming of age, characters resolving stuff, character dynamics, and working together. The sports stuff is well explained and a big part of the book series. It's got everything there. I hope it continues. I hope it works out. Oh, I want it so bad. But yes, those are all the queer sports stories I've read so far. I have a whole list of 15 books that I haven't read that I'm excited to read, and I know there's some that I've left out. So let me know what queer sports stories you have read, any recommendations. I would love to know. It's a topic I really love. A really well done sports story that just ticks off all the boxes for me, just can work so perfectly. But I hope you got some recommendations. I hope you can leave me some. Again, if you enjoyed this video, I would love a like or a comment. I would love for you to stick around and subscribe if you want to see more of my content. The algorithm is not a friend to YouTubers, especially to me, a small creator. But more importantly than that, I would love to talk to you about some queer stories. Also, I'm going to be linking another YouTuber's video. When I was doing my research trying to find new queer reads, I stumbled across theirs. They have a whole recommendation video, so definitely check it out if you want to get some more recommendations or just see some different thoughts and opinions. But thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys later, and happy reading.